Hey, we're making good time here. It's only 9 after, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment. We got to bring on Facebook, and then we're excited to get tonight's podcast going because lots and lots to discuss. Also, we get a chance to talk with one of our great Super Chat superstars, one of our community mavens. But guys, welcome in. It is the Huddle Up Podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle and powered by Blue Wire Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him. He is Zack Kelberman. Zack, should the Broncos go out and pay money to a tight end, or as this article that you're covering here that just published, I'll pull it up here, but what are your thoughts on the Broncos going out and spending money on one Kyle Rudolph?
Well, I mean, it's that time of year where there's a lot of aggregation between media outlets, and one of the Bleacher Report writers recommended the Broncos sign the former Viking and Giant. He didn't stipulate the deals, the terms of the deal, probably a one-year deal, but I feel like if they were going to sign Rudolph or someone of his ilk, they would have signed that player by now. It's very apparent, considering the players that George Paton's working out, that he's interviewing with before the draft. He's kind of, like we've hinted at, leading a trail of breadcrumbs to the positions: offensive tackle, linebacker, and tight end. He even says at the bottom of the article, we will fill this position, we will address it in the draft. So I don't think Kyle Rudolph is going to happen, though I see why a national writer or a national member of the media would think the Broncos are a good fit for her services. I'm all about upside, though. I'm a big believer in Alberto. I think he can be a full-term, long-term staple at tight end, and I would like to see someone through the draft compliment him. So I'm going to pass on Kyle Rudolph.
It's a good example, Zack. We talk about it on the show all the time, of national media not quite having the right, accurate bead on what's going on in Denver, because a big reason, it's not the reason, and it's not even probably top 2 or 3 reason that the Broncos were comfortable including Noah Fant in the trade for Russell Wilson, was Albert Okwuegbunam, who, he's struggled to stay on the field by and large since the Broncos drafted him in the 4th round. And off, I might add and remind everybody, a strong recommendation by Drew Lock. But when he's on the field, Zack, he's been awesome. And even Noah Fant's, what's a good word, testimonial on behalf of Alberto that we talked about last week. I mean, that's basically the thinking in Denver right now. Rudolph, it's the type of situation where if you had some really good blocking tight ends, but you were missing that dynamic kind of pass catcher, not to say that Rudolph is all that dynamic anymore at 32, but his forte is catching passes, then it would make a little bit more sense to me. But it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. And I always thought of Kyle Rudolph, for whatever reason, as an injury-prone, perpetually injured tight end. And I looked up his stats, and he's played in 12 or more games pretty much in every season except for a couple early in his career. 2-time Pro Bowler. I think he has a little gas left in the tank, but I don't think the Broncos are the one that should be pumping the gas, so to speak. They have a guy in Alberto who they're very high on. That's why they traded Noah Fant in the first place to Seattle as part of the Russell Wilson deal. If they want to add to the position, even Peyton said himself, we are looking, and I'm sure we'll address it in the draft. That's pretty much saying, hey guys, we're passing on signing a veteran. We're going to fill that need with a young rookie.
He signs that deal with the Giants in March of last year. Then in December, they restructure his deal to create some cap space and then cut him March 2nd. So definitely an interesting prospect. We'll see. I mean, the Broncos still have some needs, and tight end is one of them. But to me, Zack, when you start looking at lingering holes on this roster, I don't really go first to tight end. I go to, bona fide. I mean, they've got enough. It's kind of like it takes a village approach to right tackle. They've got 3 options there: Billy Turner, Tom Compton, and Calvin Anderson. So you probably just let that ride, Zack, and draft someone to kind of come in and be that future guy at right tackle. But edge, slot corner, I mean, K'Wan Williams, he's interesting, but as you've talked about a lot, he's missed time. He's a little bit longer in the tooth than I think a lot of people realize. Safety, I mean, hey, I'm as high on Caden Stern's upside as the next guy, but I'm not convinced he's the ideal box safety that you saw from Kareem Jackson when he was really in a groove. So there's just other places I could see the Broncos from a urgency perspective going before veteran tight end.
How about inside linebacker, where Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton are penciled in as starters right now after Baron Browning's converting to OLB even on a temporary basis? I'm with you. You want to add to it, and it's, as Dylan says in the comments, a smaller need. It's not a glaring need, though. I would not take a tight end at 64. I would wait until later the draft and supplement Alberto with a player that can maybe be more of a all-around tight end, not just a blocker, not just a pass catcher, a true hybrid. That would be my plan of attack.
Guys, so much more to get to. The Broncos have been, we got some breadcrumbs on the pre-draft trail to try and interpret lots of different visits with some prospects that we're going to go over. We're also excited this week's Super Chat Superstar segment with Shane Daniels, the aviator himself. We're going to talk to him here in just a moment's time. First, though, we got to say hello and thank you to the presenting sponsor of tonight's live stream podcast, Manscaped. And fellas, listen up. Have you started your spring cleaning yet? Because the carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, your lawn needs mowing. Spring has sprung, and the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the best tools for cleaning aisle 5 in your pants. It's time to clear out that winter brush and join the other 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping when you use our code MHH.
I do not want to know what's on aisle 6, Chad, but what I do want to know and what I see every time I use Manscaped and the lawnmower is how good it cleans up underneath. Because I'll say again, I'll say always, it's not just for aisle 5. It could be for aisle 1, aisle 2. It could be for your neck, your face, your arms, your chest. I'm letting it grow because my beard tends to grow fairly quickly. I'm letting it grow for a few days. So on maybe Sunday's podcast, I'm going to do another review, and I'm going to show you how close the Manscaped lawnmower gets me clean, gets me done, gets me looking nicely. I promise anyone that shaves, anyone that does any sort of grooming to their body, upstairs, downstairs, Manscaped, I promise you is the way to go.
Guys, go to manscaped.com, use the code MHH. You'll get 20% off plus free shipping. And it's not just the actual tools, but awesome little accoutrements like this, anti-chafing for the boys downstairs, the crop reviver, as they call it.
Look at that light, guys. That's legit.
Legit, guys. So manscaped.com, MHH is the code. Get yourself 20% off plus free shipping, and we appreciate Manscaped. All right, guys, the time has come. We get to meet, once again, this isn't our first time because Shane was at the meet and greet at the stadium on, what was that, back in September. We got a chance to sit down with him. Thank you real quick, Nash, for the early super chat. Good evening to you as well. Showing some love before he's got to get back to work. What a prince. But without further ado, Nash, you demand. Really do appreciate that. Let's bring on. Hey, are you guys seeing that? Is it just a black square?
It looks like a little frozen.
Hold on, let me do that again. Boom, Shane.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Shane, do this real quick. We'll keep going for a sec. Do this. Restart your browser and then come back into the room with that link I gave you. And then as soon as I see you back in the green room, we'll bring you back on. I think you're just frozen a little bit. Yeah, he is frozen. Hopefully he heard that. In the meantime, yep, he did. He'll be right back. Phil, thank you, buddy, for the stars. We really do appreciate that. Zach, all the mocksters right now, while we're waiting for Shane to come back on here, they are thinking offensive tackle. Todd McShay released his first 2-round mock of the offseason, and wouldn't you know it, how do you pronounce his name? Daniel Faalele, I think is how it is. Anyway, from Minnesota, the 6'8", massive gargantuan tackle. Not the first time a prominent mockster has penciled in a tackle for the Broncos at 64. Probably won't be the last.
He's not a perfect prospect, Faalele, but I would much prefer the Broncos address right tackle at 64 than tight end or running back, as I see some Broncos prognosticators are projecting. They have other bigger needs on the roster, and one of the biggest, if not the biggest need, is at right tackle. So I'm fine with that if they want to go there. One thing we've learned, though, is that Trevor Penning has no chance, 0.0% chance of dropping to 64. He's looking like a first-round pick lock right now.
By the way, Lawrence Rivera, appreciate you, big dog. And Mike, thank you, Mike. Hey, stick around, follow on Twitter, connect with us there. We like to keep in touch with those who are supporting the cause. And Tom, it was great to connect with you on Twitter as well, my friend. He says, good evening, guys. Great podcast. Much obliged. He says, I really think corner is a huge need. When Ronald Darby gets hurt, it's not great. After him, definitely running out of nickels and dimes. Definitely running out of nickel and dime, I think is what he's saying. I don't know. I might have put the wrong emphasis there. Tom, we're going to talk more about that, but we're going to do it alongside fellow superstar Shane Daniel. Shane, we've got you on screen now in all of your glory. Bro, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. It's been nice to watch you guys over the past few years.
Dude, you reminded me because I was like, this isn't the first time you've been on the pod because, of course, the meet and greet and everything, and you were right there. And I said, didn't you come on the Gut Reaction after the Broncos-Jets game? And he goes, you said, no, that's right when the stadium authority started sweating us and we had to break down and get out of there, so we didn't get a chance to have you on. I'm glad we finally get to rectify that, bro. That was so fun hanging out with you because you were there pretty much the whole day with us. And, of course, you went to the game and everything, but that was just fun.
Oh, yeah, I had a blast. It was great meeting all the people from the Mile High community and then watching the game and talking about it afterwards.
Okay, real quick. I got a couple questions for you. I know Zach does too. So here's my first one, and then Zach's going to ask you some stuff. First and foremost, I've yet to personally talk to a Broncos fan that had anything negative to say about the Russell Wilson trade, but tell us what your gut reaction was, pardon me, when you saw that news come across your phone. What was your first thought?
Disbelief, first and foremost. But I was elated. This is the most excited I've been for prior to a season since 2011. It's nice to finally have a franchise quarterback again.
Shane, I want to piggyback off a question that we just got from Clayton in the comments. I want to ask you your grade on George Paton that he's done in 2022 so far. Russell Wilson, Randy Gregory, et cetera, et cetera. How would you grade him? And also Clayton wants to know, how would you grade the offense and the defense? What are your answers?
Right now, I would say the offense is probably a B plus A minus. Small things to work on, like tight end, shoring up the offensive line a little bit. But as far as like playmakers, we have them. Defense, I'm a little concerned about the secondary and edge. And the style of defense they plan on running, those are the most important pieces of the defense. So I'm saying C plus, maybe B minus. Ooh. Yeah.
Hey, if it's your opinion, it's your opinion. So what about cornerback, as that super chat brought up right before we went live? Are you concerned about that? Because if we look at it from 10,000 feet, you got Patrick Surtain on one side, you got Ronald Darby on the other. Now you got K'Wan Williams in your slot. And on the surface, that starting trio looks pretty legit. But as he mentions, the first sign of the injury bug jumping up and nipping any of those guys, who do you fall back on? Michael Ojemudia, Sang Bassi. I mean, I'm stretching now if there's anyone beyond those guys. So how do you feel about that being a dire need?
Yeah, it's something to definitely look at in the draft. I don't think we're going to find anything in free agency that we can afford. But my biggest concern is at safety. We don't, outside of Justin Simmons, we're a little thin. I don't see the depth there.
Well, Albert wants to know, and I want to know as well, Shane, what do you think is position priority number one? What position would you target if you were the Broncos GM?
That's this a few.
Something on defense for sure.
Yeah, defense, edge and corner. I think edge because Randy Gregory is coming out of surgery. We know that we've had depth problems there before, and there hasn't been a massive upgrade since last year. And Randy Gregory is a great signing when he's healthy and on the field.
It is kind of curious when you have Malik Reed, you have Jonathan Cooper. I mean, you don't want to have to start either of those guys, but as your depth guys, like that's a solid depth duo for them to then say, we're going to take Baron Browning and move him to outside linebacker when he did show so much promise as an off-ball guy last year. I got to admit, especially in the wake of the experiment on, I just brain farted his name, second-round pick, Florida State, Walker. Thank you. DeMarcus Walker. dude, I'm a little bit nervous about moving Baron Browning. And it's not like you have off-ball linebacker locked down tight, right? It'd be one thing if you were coming off, you're looking at your depth chart and you've got, Josie Jewell, who's never been injured, and, Alexander Johnson still projecting as your starters this year. You're like, okay, look, we've got a little bit of slack where we could maybe try something, because the payoff, if Baron Browning does end up succeeding and thriving at edge, could be enormous. But because it's not really there, I'm like, why are you taking away from a weakness? I mean, and I get it. Edge is still kind of a weakness, but it seems like you have more at edge right now than you do off-ball, Shane.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Baron Browning has such great lateral movement in the off-ball position. That's where I think he would thrive at. His size, I don't think, is good on the edge. I don't think he has the strength and the power to really to push these big tackles out of the way in the NFL. Off-ball, he's a lot better.
Well, I want to just real quick before we get to Z-Dub, I want to pick up on this comment from Andrew Winstead. We appreciate your super, Andrew. He says we should absolutely not draft for need BPA. Here's my thing, Shane. Tell me if I'm wrong, okay? What if you go up on 64 and the BPA on your board is Desmond Ridder? Do you still draft him only because he's the BPA, or do you still look to address a spot that you need? That's not quarterback. That would be right tackle, corner, edge, inside linebacker, etc. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think it should be best player available for position of need. And so if you're coming up on pick 64 and the best player available you have is a tight end, take the tight end. The best player available that you need available is an inside linebacker, take the inside linebacker. It's, and then I think using the first 4 picks or so should cover those needs, and then use the back end of the draft to help out special teams in depth.
Agreed.
All right, let's get to some fun stuff. I mean, the current events, that's why, that's what everybody comes for. That's the stake here. Actually, we'll grab Z-Dub, and then we'll get to what I was going to say here. Zachary Smouse in the house. Great to see you, big dog. Thank you for the super chat. He says, good to see you, Shane, and I just want to show some love. Been missing you guys. Just been changing stuff for the good in my personal life. That's good to hear, Zachary. We'll be in touch. I want some details on that, my friend, but it is great to see you, Zachary. And on the topic of fanhood and the community, Shane, you can decide if you want to tell people where you live. That's up to you, but you don't live in Denver. I'll say that. How did you become as such a great, you exemplify our hashtag state of being. How'd you become such a hardcore, dedicated, passionate, knowledgeable Bronco fan?
Well, I was 5 years old, and we were at a Super Bowl party. My dad is a Cowboys fan. My mom's a Broncos fan. They're arguing over who's the better team. And they looked at me and said, who are you rooting for? And me being a mama's boy, I said Broncos. But my whole mom's side of the family are Broncos fans. And I just became passionate about it from that point forward.
I would have done the same, Shane, from one mama's boy to another. Tell us your best memory. You know where I'm going with this. Best memory as a Broncos fan and lowest memory as a Broncos fan.
Best memory, seeing John Elway finally hoist that trophy in '98. Just because it'd been so long for Broncos fans to even celebrate that. Lowest, the whole McDaniels era. It was just terrible week in and week out. So. Especially after he got fired for cheating, and then we didn't hear the end of it as fans.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Raiders' problem now.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
That it is. Okay. Mount Rushmore for Shane Daniels, the foremost. It can be your favorite Broncos. It doesn't matter. Which 4 players or figures, it could be owner, it can be GM, whatever. Who is your 4 members of the Shane Broncos Mount Rushmore?
First and foremost, John Elway. Got to meet him once. That was awesome. Peyton Manning, just because of the passion he brought back to Denver when he came. And Steve Atwater is my favorite player outside of John Elway. Guy is just killer. And the final one, it's between Terrell Davis and probably Lala Zato. I know that's not a name.
Really?
Yeah, Lala Zato was a monster.
Why Lyle though? Because his impact, I guess, the Orange Crush and all that, but from the dent he made in the orange and blue universe, it seems relatively small. Though he was famous and you just had a thing for Lyle.
Yeah, it was his style of play. He wanted to take people's heads off, even if it was roid rage, but he wanted to take people's heads off.
Faux show.
But I like that aggressive mentality that he had.
Awesome, brother. Well, Shane, thank you so much. Zach, did you have something else? And then we'll
real quick. It's April 6th. A lot left to go in the offseason, preseason, etc. What is your record prediction? 17-0 doesn't count, Shane. I want a realistic record prediction for the Broncos. What are you thinking?
I'm honestly thinking somewhere around 12-5.
Me too.
11-6, depending on how it's going to be a fight in the AFC West, and I can honestly see everybody going 3-3. And if we pick up a game or two here and there in the AFC West, I think 11-6, 12-5 is a reasonable record.
Nice. Awesome, brother. Awesome. Well, we have loved getting a chance to sit down and talk with you. It was great meeting you back in the fall. We hopefully look forward to seeing you again in the flesh. We got some cool stuff coming this year. It's going to be fun. But Shane, thank you for everything you do for us and all that you mean to us, and just contributing to the conversation every night, being a part of this living, breathing community, and also giving us some of your time tonight, contributing to the content. Thank you, brother. We look forward to seeing you very, very soon.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Shane.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. There he goes, Shane Daniels. And as someone who has 3 little tiny dogs, I know what it's like to, out of the blue, have them yapping in the background. What can you do? You charge it to the game, as they say. GLP giving Shane some props too. Love it, dude. Good to see you, Gary. Appreciate you, big dog. But you know what? Thank you, Gary. Scott says thank you as well. But you know what? One thing I liked about Shane's analysis here tonight, Zach, is, he didn't sugarcoat anything in terms of how he saw things. If he saw it one way, he said it. He's not jumping the shark, kind of punch drunk or whatever over the Russell Wilson acquisition to a point where he's ignoring any of the lingering potential problems that this roster might have. And the good news is you still got the part 2 of the biggest talent acquisition process of the offseason still to come in the NFL draft.
I wish we had like an hour to talk to all these guests because I have more questions and more questions. I would have loved to pick Shane's brain, though, specifically on why he gave the Broncos like a C+, B-, I think it was, on defense. That was interesting. That's keeping it real because they look good on paper, but one injury to Darby, as was mentioned, or a Gregory suspension, God forbid. It's a Giro Evero's first time as a DC. A lot of different moving parts on defense, and I like his answer because it was objective.
Scott, did we say thank you to James Webb? Okay, James, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. Saw that. Really do appreciate it. Not long after Tom's there. Rodney throwing down. Appreciate you, big dog. Thank you, buddy. David Wilder in the house throwing down. You are the man, David. Also, Claude Riley joining us tonight. This is awesome. Guys, I'll give you an update. So the goal here in the month of April to reach 250,000 stars on Facebook. When we reach that goal, we're raffling off a Broncos jersey of the winner's choosing. And we're also in the process of doing some brainstorming to come up with other cool things to do as little small thank yous for when we do these contests. But for this month, it's a jersey. Once again, the only people that are going to be in the running for that raffle, of course, are those who contributed to the goal. And right now we are at 6% complete here, 6 days into the month. So maybe a little bit behind, but it's nothing to get too alarmed about. And if we had to do the raffle tomorrow, the fellas and well, I guess in this case it would be fellas with the most tickets in the hat would be Michael Ronquillo at the very top, Jacob Foster, who won it last month, Mark Schrader, Travis Weber, Shane Daniels is up there in the top 5, Howie Frickin' Day, Chad Beach, John Clay, awesome, Andrew Baker, and Lawrence Rivera. That's on Facebook. And then we're doing something similar. Lon, it's good to see you for our YouTube Super Chat Superstars. We'll update that here in just a few minutes. But Zach, the Broncos have been pretty busy, as you would expect, with this being the final month and the real. And then he comes into Shane and throws down a super chat. Thank you, bro. You did great, dog. You threw down. I love it when, I try to explain and with Shane that he didn't need any kind of a pep talk. He was ready to go. But Zach, sometimes people get a little kind of, I don't know, anxious about coming on or whatever. And it's like, hey, just imagine it's just me, you, Zach. It's just the three of us. We're sitting at the bar, cold one, whatever, talking about the things that we talk about every day, all day long. Anyway, the same things we think and talk about. It's all it is. But Shane didn't need that, dude. He was clutch.
Shane was calm, cool, and collected, very composed. Any of the C's that you want to mention, Shane was in his little time with us. So we appreciate you, Shane, and we appreciate, like Chad said, all your ongoing contributions.
And the throwdown here and props from the Duchess with a very, very
thank you.
Generous super chat. We love you. We appreciate you. She says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott. And then Shane, she's giving you props. She's giving you one of these. Great job. Thank you, Michaela. You're so awesome. Love you. Appreciate you. Also, I'm going to be DMing you after the show tonight because I need to find out. There's some options on the little care package coming your way from the drawings last month. And I need to know. I'll be asking you what your preference is because I know you've purchased and gotten some things in the past from the merch store. So I'll be in touch. Edward, good to see you, bro. You're next up, right? I don't have my phone right here handy, but you're next up, if I'm not mistaken. Next week on the show, it's going to be awesome. He says, what's up, everyone? I am so ready for the draft. I'm excited to see who we get. What's up, Shane? Thanks, Chad and Zach. Denver Broncos for life. Yeah, it's like, hey, what would you rather have, Zach? Because some people are feeling like still a little bit robbed of joy because you can't really anticipate and look forward to a first-round pick this time. But if you're doing one of these, what would you rather have? Russell Wilson or a first-round pick that has proven zero in the NFL? I mean, I think when Bronco fans analyze that rationally, the answer is going to be the answer. But it doesn't really take away from the feeling of I'm missing something right now. Like we should be talking about like all the top 15, top 20 prospects, top 30. There's no point in really discussing them all that much. I mean, even though George Paton has hinted that he's not opposed to moving up, it would take a lot to move up back into the first round. So I don't think we really plan on that, although we just don't rule it out.
Exactly. It's unlikely, but there's always the chance with Paton. And if he says it, he might stick by that. He's very genuine in his remarks. If he likes a player enough, maybe he's willing to surrender more capital. So we always have to keep that in mind that there's a chance, a small one, but a chance the Broncos could be picking on Thursday, April 28th. But my second point before he brought that one up is the Broncos did have a first-round pick. His name was Russell Wilson. I think that's pretty
the best
good.
way to look at it. Yeah.
So I'm happy right now. Not going to lie.
That's the best way to look at it from a mindset perspective is, yeah, you do have a first-round pick this year. It's your quarterback. So
it's pretty good, too.
Guys, I mean, we think we know. We can think back to when it was Paton. We can think back to even when it was Cutler and Jake Plummer and going way back to John Elway. We know what it's like to have a bona fide tier one franchise guy. All right. Maybe we're lacking tier one in between John and Paton, but still we know what it's like to have kind of the answer at quarterback. But after wandering the desert for 6 years and just the depth, Zach, of those depredations. I mean, been some dark days. It's just going to be so nice to know when your team goes out there on a Sunday, you don't have to worry about that. You've got competency. You've got a dynamic athlete and an experienced pro, 9-time Pro Bowler calling signals for your Denver Broncos. I can't wait to see it.
And even before that, what we don't have to worry about for the first time is a quarterback controversy of some sort. No split reps, no battle. We have an understood true franchise quarterback in the building. I just love it. It's a stress-free lifestyle covering the Broncos now for the most part. And I'm fine with it. I'm dandy.
Shout out to Andrew. Appreciate you, my friend. He says, I work overnight and watch the videos while living here in Texas. Awesome, dude. Hey, Scott, on this subject from Lawrence on Hackett and Wilson, he wants to know basically, says, I like Russell, didn't like Hackett. I don't think they'll mesh well. I thought Eric Bieniemy would have been better fit overall for scheme. Or would you have went the other way by keeping Hackett and leaving Russell? That's my question. So basically, who would you rather have, I guess, right? Hackett or Wilson? Is that what you're asking, Lawrence? I mean, if push came to shove on that, to me, the answer is simple: the quarterback. Not to minimize the impact of a true, a good NFL head coach, but we've seen you can bring in guys who are coveted at their respective positions, like even Vance Joseph. When the Broncos hired him as head coach, he was a coveted guy across the league. Same for Vic Fangio, in the sense more of a coordinator. No one was really going out of their way. I think Denver was the only head coach interview he had for the Bears as the Bears defensive coordinator. But still, we've seen what, experienced, solid coaches. I mean, I don't want to go out over my skis trying to compliment these two, but if you're missing the quarterback, my point is here, it's basically all for naught.
Well, as Lawrence said, a better fit for our scheme, and I'm kind of confused by that, because once they fired Pat Shurmur, they have no scheme. Whoever they were going to hire was going to bring in their own system, and whether it's Bieniemy, who would have been taken from the Andy Reid playbook and his scheme, or it was Nathaniel Hackett taken from Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, it was going to change regardless. I don't understand why, and tell us, Lawrence, in the comments, why don't you believe they're not going to mesh well? Nathaniel Hackett being this outgoing, exuberant personality, and Russell Wilson having some of that fire as well. The best years of Russell Wilson's career were played under a fiery coach in Pete Carroll. I think winning cures all. I mean, that's obviously the case here. As long as they win, everything's going to be gold. But I think he's going to have fun again. He hasn't had fun for at least the last couple of years in Seattle. He's going to have fun with Hackett and company in Denver.
And that's also a problem for the Broncos. They haven't been having fun. I mean, yeah, when you lose, you don't have fun. But I also mean just the type of coaches they've had are these older generation, kind of stick in the mud, gruff. I mean, this is your head coach.
Who didn't play music at practice. I mean, can't get any more old school than that.
Exactly. He's the stepdad in Twisted Sister's music video from the 1980s, right? I mean, that's Vic Fangio. That's like, man, you're just like screaming to get out of school so you can go have some freedom and enjoy life. But, I wouldn't worry too much about it, Lawrence, my friend. He says they'll start off using Hackett schemes, and if it doesn't work, Russell will have to step up. Listen, we already know, in a sense, at least philosophically, what it's going to be. Nathaniel Hackett has a playbook. Exactly how many pages are in that playbook, I can't tell you. But he has a playbook. Russell Wilson has a set of, plays and different looks and different things that he likes. And based on what his predilections are, his go-tos, they're going to find those plays in Nathaniel Hackett's playbook, and they're going to craft this offense around what Russ does best, A, and then B, what the collective talent around Russ does best. So for the first time in a long time, my point here, Zach, and then we'll grab Andrew, is you don't have to wonder, in my opinion, all right? You don't have to wonder and worry whether or not the coaches who are calling the shots in Denver are actually going to scheme around the strengths of their personnel. Those days, it's, my scheme or the highway, those days are in the rear view. Nathaniel Hackett understands that. It's all about crafting it around the situation, around what you have. And now you go from having to figure out how to craft it perhaps around Drew Lock to freaking Russell Wilson. So my misgivings on the Nathaniel Hackett hire, Zach, really end at the point of he's a first-time guy. And with first-time guys, you just can never say for sure exactly what you're going to get.
Well, hat tip to Scott, who reminded me of one of my favorite sayings that Nathaniel Hackett actually said, which was the players become the scheme, which is true. But my comment to Lawrence would have been the audibles that Wilson would call would be coming out of Nathaniel Hackett's playbook. Russell Wilson isn't going to design his own playbook, his own plays, and have that contrast with Nathaniel Hackett. He's going to take his marching orders from his head coach. So I believe he'll have some more freedom, but it's Hackett's operation all the way. He's calling plays, he's designing plays, he's game planning, he's working hand in hand with Russ. They will find common ground, and he's going to let him cook. It's the only thing Russ wanted to do the last couple of years or half decade is cook. Well, he has a freaking chef's apron on right now. He's ready.
And I think Broncos fans, are going to be given the chef's kiss here very, very soon. We'll come back to that maybe here in a few minutes, Lawrence. Andrew says, and thank you for the very generous super chat, Big Dog. If George Paton truly believes Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder is the best player available at pick 64, let's say, and there's a drop-off in talent after, then take Ridder and flip him. Point is not to reach based on need. Trust the draft board you put together. Love listening. Let's ride. Really appreciate that, Andrew. I don't think the Broncos are completely opposed to, like, if 64 rolls around and the best player on their board is a quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if the Broncos took that quarterback, even though they've got a still relatively young Russ. But, Russ is north of 30 and tells us he wants to play another 10, 11, 12 years and win 3 or 4 more Super Bowls. I'm more inclined to kind of let him do that. But you do need to have some kind of a backup plan, even during the Peyton Manning days. I mean, when they drafted Brock Osweiler, all right, Peyton had already signed, and you had Peyton Manning. Now, different situation in that we still weren't sure yet what Peyton was going to be because of the neck thing. But still, with their second-round pick that year, Zach, they drafted a quarterback.
Remember the Tide Pod challenge a few years ago? I'm going to resurrect that if the Broncos draft a quarterback at 64. I will eat Tide Pods on camera on this podcast if that happens. There's 0% chance they go that route. But to Andrew's comment, I appreciate you, Andrew. I don't want to come off combative, but this isn't Madden. You can't take a player and flip him for the same value. It's like buying a car. As soon as you drive off the lot, that value is depreciated. The same thing for a prospect. So if you draft Ritter at 64, I think the best you get back is a third-round pick. No way that happens. I would be absolutely stunned, flabbergasted.
He is an intriguing quarterback, but he's rough still around the edges. He's going to take some time to marinate. I could see him as like a, your whole point there, Andrew, was to flip him, right? You're not really drafting him because you envision him in the scheme, but he's the type of player from a skill set perspective, being able to dual threat it, throw, run. I could see him backing him up, but I'm inclined to, even though I wouldn't be completely stunned, I'm inclined to agree with Zach that, it made a lot more sense in 2012 when the Broncos drafted Brock Osweiler because Peyton was 36. He had just missed the entirety of the previous season, and he was coming off 4 neck surgeries, and reports had been out there about his arm and all that stuff. And the Broncos got to see it up close and personal when they worked him out, knowing that, hey, I'm close, but by the time we get to training camp, it's going to be a lot better. You're just going to have to trust me. And they trusted him. So it wasn't the message it sent to Peyton Manning when they drafted Brock Osweiler. I don't think he was too upset about that, just because he understood the unknown component that the Broncos, from a fail-safe perspective, had to kind of, someone had to be the responsible adult and make sure you have a backup plan. In this case, you'd also have to worry a little bit, Zach, even if you drafted that quarterback at pick 64 to just turn around and try and trade him, which has many pitfalls as you stipulated there. You'd have to worry a little bit about what message you're sending to Russ. Are you wanting him to become disgruntled Aaron Rodgers of, I'm in my prime window, let's freaking do this, and you're drafting a Q when, hey, where's my whatever right tackle, where's an edge rusher to help us get the ball back, etc.
You go 6 years without a franchise quarterback. You make one of the biggest trades in league history, and then you turn around and use your first pick on a quarterback. Nothing against Desmond Ritter. If the Broncos didn't trade for Russ, I would be all about taking a flyer on a quarterback like Ritter. I think he's going to be a pretty good pro, but you have that guy now. And if you do to Russ what the Packers did to A-Rod with Jordan Love, I think it would be catastrophic. You're going to take a quarterback before ensuring that the quarterback you traded for has a capable right tackle or has another tight end to throw to, or that his defense can help get the ball back for him. 0.0%. Mark it down right now. April 6th, 6:48 Mountain Time. No way in hell.
Yeah, Scott brings up a good point. When you boil it all down, even if you had Ritter ranked on your big board way higher than everybody else available, you trade back. You don't take Ritter there. But still fun to spitball. Appreciate the question, Michael. Good to see you, big dog. Giving some props for Shane Daniels, the best fans in the NFL. That is faux show. Travis Tarbox in the house as well. T twice. He says, just wanted to wish my son a happy 24th birthday. He bleeds blue and orange as well, so he's excited as the rest of us. What's his name? We'll give him a shout out. Put his name in the chat. We'll wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, regardless, though.
Okay, Zach. Here is the Dutch challenge. Go ahead and say what Albert's saying here. Go ahead. Van harte gefeliciteerd.
Easy one. Met João Zuns jogged. I don't even know. How bad was that, Albert? On a scale of 0 to 1, how bad was that?
Yo, my hat just got blown off my bald dome from the Duchess, throwing down another Massive super chat.
Thank you, Michaela.
Love you. Seriously. Thank you so much. Thank
Michaela
you.
Bomb.
Yes. She says, no way am I drafting a Q at 64 to let him marinate or flip him. We have bigger needs. See offensive tackle.
Preach.
Excellent points. Excellent points. Michaela, we love you so much. Seriously. Thank you so much.
I mean, your generosity makes me talk like I'm trying to pronounce what Albert said there. It's just like, thank you so much, Michaela. You are the Duchess for a reason, and you prove that each and every night. Not just a saying, it's a Michaela bomb now. When we see red, we know it's MP Michaela bomb all the way.
Thank you. Love you. All right, where are we at? We're at 40 minutes. We got a little time here. Chad Beach jumping in. Appreciate the stars, bro. And good evening to you. Let's ride indeed. Loving the hashtags. Hashtag game is on point, my friend. Zach, I kind of titled this episode around the draft meetings, the Broncos, basically the pre-draft interest they've shown. We should probably get to some of that real quick. First and foremost, it wasn't a pre-draft visit, but as you had in that article, they checked out the quarterback from Miami. There's a report that the Broncos plan to host Wyoming 3-down linebacker. We'll see if that pans out. Chad Muma on a pre-draft visit next week. Let's see who else here. Whoop, dang pop-ups jumping up everywhere. But I can go through a list. And some of the reporting on this, Zach, is a little bit janky just because it's coming from different parts of the internet. So in some cases, you have like school beat reporters reporting things, and then local NFL beat guys either corroborating it or not confirming it. For the Denver Broncos, here's just a few of the names that I didn't mention. Pre-draft meetings, Abraham Lucas, the tackle from Washington State, who's another common mock to Denver at pick 64. Cordell Flott at corner, the LSU kid. Shamari Jones, a running back from Coastal Carolina. Nick Grant, a defensive back from Virginia. There are a few more as far as visits are concerned. Tyler Smith from Tulsa, another offensive tackle. Nick Grant, corner, safety, Virginia. Isaiah Pacheco, if I mispronounce his name, from Rutgers. He's a running back. Cole Turner, a tight end from Nevada. And let's see, last but not least, Shamari Jones, a running back from Coastal Carolina. So do you see any kind of a thread here? I see lots of tackles, lots of DBs, lots of running backs.
Yes, running backs kind of surprises me considering Paton traded up for Javonte. It could be a smokescreen, could be a diversion, but I think cornerback and tackle. Offensive linemen, they're hosting a center. I think it was Juergens on a pre-draft visit as well. So they're looking at offensive linemen as they should. They're looking at cornerbacks as they should. There's a really high likelihood at 64 they could be taking one of those guys from one of those positions, and I would be all for that.
See, I don't think they're going to be taking a running back in round 2. But they need to add 2 running backs minimum from either the free agent ranks that are still out there now or the draft process / college free agents, just because it's Pookie, it's Mike Boone, it's Demaria Crockett, and that's it. So they just need depth there. Do you go spend your most premium draft picks on a running back, considering some of the other needs? No. And if you look at the prospects at the running back positions that they have met with, most of them are projected to be day 3 picks. So that's probably more in the thinking that the Broncos have right now at running back.
I like Hassan Haskins from Michigan. If they want to wait till the 5th or 6th round, I think he could be there, and he would be a nice value pick at a position, not of need, but at a luxury, honestly. I think they're fine with Boone and Pookie, but I agree with adding one more, and Haskins could be that guy.
Hey, we got Dan here throwing down up in Canada. A super chat. Broncos country is not a geographic location. It is a state of being. Thank you, Dan. It says we need to address linebacker position. Miles Jack or Bobby Wagner would have been great. Alex Singleton, who the Broncos did sign, is no starter. We need to get an off-ball linebacker. Yeah, I mean, Singleton has some bona fides. Led the Philadelphia Eagles in tackles. Was it twice? Or even back-to-back years? So I think you can get by with him, but I'm inclined to agree, Dan, about, Josie Jewell, health willing. I don't worry about him beyond health. If he's going to be healthy, I don't worry about that spot. But next to him, that's why I'm going, wait a minute, is it really the best usage of resources to move Baron Browning to edge? Because who's behind him? I mean, I guess there's Jonas Griffith, who, when he was called on to start, he just signed his ERFA tender, Zach, as you reported for us yesterday. when he was called on to play starter snaps last year, that dude rose to the occasion. He was equal to his opportunity.
I'm right there with you on Barron. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't understand changing one position to help another, but you're making a weaker position in the interim. I was going to say don't discount Jonas Griffith, but I don't believe that Singleton was signed to start. I would be really remiss to start him. He's a special teamer. He's a contributor on early downs. He offers really nothing on passing downs, though. I'm okay with bringing back Kenny Young on a 1-year deal. At least he has sideline to sideline speed. If you're going to fool around with Baron Browning, at least put a guy that has, as Shane said, dynamic. I'll never pronounce it. Dynamism. Did I nail that? Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Sideline to sideline range. That's what Kenny Young was. That's what Baron Browning is. I would have no problem bringing Kenny Young back.
And it's these coaches know Kenny Young, right? From his time with the Rams. So
exactly.
Real quick, this is an interesting comment from one of our great community mavens and moderator for MHH on YouTube, Dylan, who says, the Chiefs are taking a step back this year. This is the time to draft and sign players to help you now. In other words, you got to put the boot on the neck, Malachi Crunch style, and strike while this iron's hot. But to the premise, Zach, of the Chiefs taking a step back, what that might look like exactly, I'm not sure. But it really does seem like their unfettered, unchallenged reign of the AFC West is coming to a close. And not just because of the arrival of Russell Wilson, but some of their personnel and coaching losses. You got to wonder if this is going to be the same team in 2022 and beyond.
Man, I'm taking it a step further. I'm going full Ed Norton. I'm going curb stomp to Kansas City. This is the year. They are susceptible. Their mouths are as closest to the curb as it's been in years, and the Broncos now have the power to push down and make that curb stomp a reality. That's why I want Kansas City in week 1 or week 2 on prime time. I want the Broncos to establish their dominance from the opening gates and prove to Kansas City, to the rest of the division, and to the NFL, the Broncos are back, baby. Let's ride.
Let's ride indeed. Nathan Kim in the house. What's going on, bro? Thank you for the super chat. Connect on Twitter. He says, I can't wait for the season. Should we trade back from our second round pick for more future picks? And Zach, please don't eat the Tide Pods.
I don't want to, but I will.
You know, Zach, this is one of those situations that I think Dylan's comment there kind of answers this question. If you had a first round pick this year, okay, then you can maybe afford to roll the dice, try and stockpile for the future with that second round pick. But because you're not even entering the draft conversation till the very bottom, the last pick in the second round, I think the wisdom of trading out of the second round with that pick, even if it's to stockpile significant capital in 23,
right?
I don't think the wisdom of that is right. If you really are wanting, Zach, to strike while this iron's hot, you got Russ, you got momentum, you got Hackett. The Chiefs, you're wondering what's going on there. It's not looking so good for them. Use that pick on a player who can help you. In 2011, it was Raheem Moore, Orlando Franklin were the second round picks. And then the very next year when Paton came, it was Brock Osweiler. And now that I think about it, Derek Wolfe as well. Because the Broncos, did they trade? Yeah, they traded back and out of round 1 to take Derek Wolfe. But anyway, you need someone that can help you. Look at Peyton Manning. When he came here, you can question the wisdom of drafting Brock Osweiler in terms of, does that help Peyton today? Not really, right? But Derek Wolfe certainly helped Peyton, helping get the ball back for Peyton. He was 6 sacks as a rookie, went on to be an entrenched starter his entire career in Denver. And then if you didn't take Brock Osweiler, Zach, in the second round, 4 years down the road when Peyton Manning pulls up lame and he has to miss time and you're in the middle of a presumptive Super Bowl run, you're probably not winning 5 of those 7 games you had to play without Peyton Manning, if not for making that decision to draft Brock Osweiler in round 2 in 2012.
Well, they say that this year's draft class is the weakest in recent memory, so maybe teams will follow the Howie Roseman approach, which is trade down and acquire capital for next year. I don't necessarily believe that Peyton will follow that guideline. I think he's going to actually stay at 64 and take the best available player on his board, whoever that may be. I also don't believe in trading for the sake of trading, either trading up or trading down. Only if you have enough sureties about it, if you have enough conviction about it, should you do that? But I don't think that Paton's going to move down just for no reason at all. One of those guys that they need at a position that we've named already is likely to be there. They might make some smaller trades in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, whatever. I think at 64, they're going to stay and take their guy.
Andrew Baker, what's good, bro? He says Elway needs some Elway gets some flack, but he did a lot of good, and even his misgivings set up where we are now. Hashtag MHH for life. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Andrew Baker, who's going to be on the show in the not too distant future as well. But yeah, John Elway, look, he lost his way for a minute, couldn't hire the right head coach, and he couldn't get the quarterback position right post Super Bowl 50. That's going to haunt him. His legacy, it has put it's lost some of its luster, the Elway legacy as a GM, because of that. But he did more good, I maintain, for this franchise over his 10 years as the GM than bad. And even, look, he lost his way as a draft artist from like 2013 through 17. Those 3, 4, whatever it is, even maybe 5. A lot of misses, especially in those premium rounds. Andrew Lampy, good to see you, bro. Thank you, buddy. A lot of misses, but he turned the ship around from 2018 on. And a lot of those guys that he brought in those last few classes he was responsible for, those are the guys you're leaning on now as your core dudes building around Russell Wilson.
And he was so good at finding undrafted guys, undrafted gems. That was one of his talents. And, you could talk about the Peyton Manning effect, but who lured Peyton Manning to Denver? That would be John Elway. And they won multiple division titles, conference championships. They made 2 Super Bowls under Elway's reign as GM. They won 1. I think that's pretty good for any executive. And I'm right there with Chad. And Elway's parting gift to the Broncos was hiring George Paton. So I'm definitely putting him in the plus category. He did a lot of good for this franchise, and I hope the fans remember that.
And that's what people miss. Even the most hardened skeptics and haters of John Elway, the GM. Well, why are you showering him with praise? He had Peyton Manning. You don't get Peyton Manning in Denver if it's John Elway, if it's not John Elway, and specifically his sell to Peyton or lack thereof. The way he approached it was unique and separated the Denver Broncos from all the other teams that were clamoring for his services. Tom, again, I love Hackett. I'm just a little nervous about the whole coaching staff being first-timers. I thought they'd have brought a veteran in. They did, Tom Capers. I'm just glad no more fake jet sweeps without ever running an actual jet sweep. Amen to that, big dog. But, yeah, there's some misgivings there. I feel you. There's some, there's, I think, a healthy reason for a little bit of skepticism, but I would be much more inclined to kind of fall into that line of thinking, Zach, if you didn't solve quarterback. Right. Solving quarterback takes, Zach Taylor, all right, in Cincinnati. Does that dude, is he coaching in the Super Bowl if they didn't solve quarterback his second year?
He's not coaching at all. He'd be
he's
fired.
He's gone by now, guys. That's what it does. And so in other words, it covers holes, it raises ships. Floats everybody's boat, and that's what Wilson's going to do. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, Tom.
And to your point, a quarterback of Wilson's caliber or Rodgers, they are pretty much coaches on the field. They are that intelligent. They have been around the block in the NFL. They know pretty much every defense they can face, so they're pretty okay on offense. I'm kind of in agreement, though, on defense. I thought they would hire a veteran, experienced defensive coordinator, but I do like Evero. You mentioned Dom Capers. They also retained Bill Kolar as like a consultant advisor, so they have some veteran, experienced voices on their staff. It's one of the storylines. If they start losing, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about, they have 3 first-time coaches and coordinators. That's the reason why they're not doing well, but they have enough balance on both sides. They should be able to weather that storm.
By the way, Scott, you is telling us that Tom has moved into the top 5 rankings on Super Chat for the month of April. So good job, big dog. I'll show you that. In fact, let me show you, and then we'll grab a Bardo Tripper here. Here is your updated in real time top 5 Super Chat Superstar rankings for the month of April. Ethan, the DWI guys, number 1, the Duchess, number 2, Sam Bam at 3, and look at Tom. Leapfrogging dudes, shouldering, elbowing his way to the front, top 5. Awesome, dude. At number 4, KB at number 5, D. Porter at 6, Nash the 5th at 6, Paul, Travis Weber, Dave, Geiger Gaming, JJ. There's a a snapshot of how things currently stand. Let's grab Bardo Tripper because we're about out of time here, Zach. He says, hello, Priest. Love the pod. Thank you, buddy. And appreciate that. Super. Any more rule changes than the overtime rules? I was thinking now that they have 17 games a year, they should allow more men instead of the 53-man roster. Your thoughts? Yeah, so if you guys missed it, the new overtime rules mandate both teams get a chance to possess the ball. There's no more if you score on the first possession, a touchdown, it's over. But, Zach, what do you think here? Now, should they allow more than 50? I mean, they did significantly help because of the pandemic and whatnot. They did help teams by allowing a 16-man practice squad and that new rule where you can promote two guys, elevate them, I guess is the right word, on game day to be active for the team, and then you can send them right back down to the practice squad the next day. They don't count towards the 53-man. You can do that 2 times for free on an individual player. The third time, when you send them back after you've elevated them on game day, they have to pass through the waiver wire system just like you would if you cut anybody. Got to pass through waivers, and if they go unclaimed, then boom, you can stash them right back on the practice squad. So I think those moves significantly freed teams up to, have more options on game day. But 53 men, I mean, it's a lot of dudes. That's a lot of people on a roster, plus the practice squad. What are your thoughts?
You said exactly what I was going to say to a T. The only thing I would add is that the NFL is a game and a war of attrition. And the teams that win the Super Bowl or make it there mostly have pretty good injury luck. So it really wouldn't matter whether you have 53, 63, 73. If you have the injury bug haunting your team, you're just done for. I like the rules as is. I like the call-up rules that they maintained after the virus and the pandemic. So I think they're going to keep it as is, as they should.
By the way, Michaela, I'm being told you're probably going to be moving into number 1 on Super Chat by the end of tonight's live stream, FYI. Raul Blitz, RAL Blitz. G'day, boys. I feel like we have, and this is on Twitch, we like to grab at least one Twitch every single night. He says, I feel like we have a decent option at most positions. We can get through in basically all positions, and we need to look for the prospects with the highest ceilings we can through the draft. # state of being. Yeah, the Broncos have done a pretty good job setting themselves up for the draft to not have, any knee-jerking needs. So that I concur with, but you're looking for ceilings every time you draft. You really do, Zach.
Yeah, and if you draft a right tackle, they don't necessarily have to start because you have Billy Turner. If you draft an edge guy, they don't necessarily have to start because you have Browning, you have Bradley Chubb, you have Randy Gregory, Cooper, Malik Reed, so on. So yeah, that's the beauty of what George Paton's done. They can sit back and take their BPA. They can sit back and take a pick for luxury, add to a position of strength already and make it a super strength. They can shore up a weakness. They're in a good position. As long as they solve quarterback, which they did, they are in an excellent position entering the draft.
Yeah, Harold, Troy Anderson, truth. Shout, let it all out. Troy Anderson is the truth, but I don't know that he's going to be there for Denver. Lawrence, and then we got to go, guys. Who do you guys follow or like on Twitter? Any up-and-comers? Dude, my Twitter following, the people I follow on Twitter is an eclectic list of NFL media, bands that I like, politics, both sides of politics, because I like to know what's going on from all the different perspectives. Up-and-comers, I don't know what you mean, like up-and-comers in NFL business. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but just go look at who I follow. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head, Zach.
Well, one guy I want to give a shout-out to who's done a really good job this year through free agency and leading up to the draft is Jordan Schultz. I don't know if he's still with ESPN or not, but he has his hand in a bunch of different ventures. He is right up there with Rappaport and Schefter and Albright and everybody else. He is a bona fide NFL insider. I would follow him. I think it's Jordan_Schultz on Twitter.
Yeah, it's ESPN's no longer on his bio. Insider and insider/analyst, host of the Pull Up Pod, host of Game Plan at Boardroom, host of the Game Day NFL. No more ESPN on his Twitter bio, so that maybe he left. I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, he has broken a lot of stuff this year. Very, very good point. Phil, appreciate you, bro. Guys, thank you so much for everything. We're going to say goodnight. We'll be back tomorrow night, as you know.
Thank you so much again, guys. Thank you to Shane for coming on. Thank you for the Michaela Bombs. Thank you for each and every one of you that tuned in this evening. We are back on tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Until that time, though, follow us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter for all your Broncos news, analysis, rumors, and more at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad on Twitter, as you can see on the screen. Or if you're listening to me right now, at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. If you guys would like a dad hat like I'm wearing, a hat like Chad's wearing, any of our merch, more to come right now, or soon, at huddleuppod.com. Get yourself some merch right there. And don't forget about facebook.com/MileHighHuddlePod. Like that page, follow that page. Guys, if you haven't, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win. Could be anything, any sort of goodie each and every month. But if you can't do any of those things, please take a few seconds, subscribe to this video, like this video, share this video, and each and every video you see on the MHA channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
I don't know why, but it's not letting me, the back end of Facebook is not letting me click in. Oh, now I'm in for the list of our great star supporters. Chad Beach, thank you. Lawrence Rivera, Andrew Lampy, Lana, GLP, Dave Wilder, Phil McLaughlin, Andrew Baker, Claude Riley, Rodney Garcia. Much love and respect to each and every one of you for throwing down stars tonight. And then we got to also shout out our Super Chat superstars tonight, starting with Nash the Fifth, Mike, Tom, James Webb, ZW Design, Zachary Smouse, Andrew, Edward. The Aviator himself also gets an additional shout out for dropping some knowledge with us. The Duchess, love you. Dan, Nathan Kim, and Bardo Tripper. Seriously, much love and respect. We'll be tagging you guys. If we know your Twitter handle, we will be tagging you after the show as a thank you and a shout out. So much love and respect.
Take care, and as always, guys, go Broncos.